looking at the battle for the city of Nelson Mandela Bay. My name is Siki Mgabadeli. We're coming to you live from the campus here at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. They are partners with eNCA along with the Herald newspaper today, talking about what the political parties who are contesting these local government elections have in store for the citizens of the city. Let's give you some facts about the city. The population here, just over 1.1 million people. It's a city that's well known for being a transport hub. It's got an airport, a port, it's got a harbor. It connects Southern Africa to destinations, both national and international. Well known for its automotive sector. In fact, in some circles, it's called the Detroit of South Africa, and yet we sit with a high unemployment rate, 36.6%, and the youth unemployment rate quite staggering at 47.3%. So what will the parties who are on stage with me today promise to the citizens of the city? Let's introduce them to you. From the African National Congress, we have Rory Reardon, who is a member of the Mayoral Committee for Finance here at Nelson Mandela Bay. For the Democratic Alliance, we have Councillor candidate Ngababanga. For the United Democratic Movement, we have mayoral candidate Mongameli Bobani. And for the Economic Freedom Fighters, we have the national chairperson of the EFF, and that is Advocate Dali Mpofu. Thank you very much to all of you for being here today. With our panels and our election debates, we have a panel of experts, and I'm going to introduce them to you at this point. Professor Jolene Steyn-Kotze, who is with the university here, the NMMU. We have Nwabisa Makunga, who is the deputy editor at the Herald, as well as eNCA's resident analyst, Angelo Fick. They're going to be putting some questions to our panelists shortly, as well as questions which we'll be getting from the political party members who are here with us today. So I'm going to give each of you, gentlemen, just about 3 minutes to state your opening statement. Tell me and tell the citizens in this room what you plan to do for them. I'll start with you, Rory.
Thank you very much, Siki. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your welcome. It's very nice to be here. May I just begin by asking us for a respectful moment for the fact that we have a candidate councillor who died last night. Tragically, he was murdered, Councillor Mgabadeli, and I request that you please spend a minute thinking about this terrible, tragic thing that has happened in our politics. Thank you. If I could begin, I would like to suggest 3 reasons why you should seriously consider voting for the African National Congress, and I think the case is very, very strong. Number 1 is that the African National Congress is the only organization that actually has a plan for the next 5 years for this metropolitan municipality. The plan has not only been crafted over time, it is not something that happened yesterday. It has gone through council's committees over a long period of time, crafted by the executive mayor and signed by him. It has been incorporated into the municipality's integrated development plan and has finally been brought out in a very accessible booklet that I'm sure some of you might wish to read in your time. It's a comprehensive plan called the 5 Golden Years that takes us from where we are now into the next municipal election, which will be in 2021, and gives a real opportunity for our municipality to grow in economy and jobs and efficiencies and all sorts of things. I'll get into this a little bit later on, but reason number 1 to consider us seriously is because we have the plan. Okay, reason number 2 is we have an absolutely outstanding man as our mayoral candidate. Councillor Danny Jordan is, of course, known to you all because he is from Port Elizabeth. He's one of us. He's lived in Bethelsdorp for almost all of his adult years, and he is universally known throughout our city, number one. Number two is he is an extremely well-traveled, well-spoken, and highly esteemed man. His CV is stellar. He has been a director of a national banking group. He has 2 degrees and 3 honorary doctorates. And most...
Rory, I'm going to have to ask you to pause there for a moment. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to hope that you'll elaborate on some of those other issues that you wanted to raise as well. Let me get a statement from you about your opening statement.
Many people think an honorary degree is a qualification. It's not a qualification at all. The Democratic Alliance wants to send its condolences to you as the ANC on the death of your own councillor. We are certain with this thing that has happened in our city. This is a peaceful city. This is the kind of city we want to build. We want to build a democratic South Africa where there is peace, where there is tolerance, for us to be able to lead our people better. That's a society in which we want to be. Two, we the Democratic Alliance, we want to focus into 3 things. Because there's no plan in the city. The only thing that has been here in the city for the past 5 years was to destroy and steal out of this municipality. The plan he's holding is a plan to continue to steal and destroy our municipality to the level in which they've brought it. What we want to do is to make sure that we create work. Yourself, Siki, you have just gave us statistics that more than 36% of the people of this city are unemployed. 36 people out of 100 sleep without food. 46% of the youth in this city go to sleep without something to eat on the table because of this lack of plan from the ANC. What we want to do is to make sure that we create work in the city. We have 2 harbors, as we have mentioned, 2 harbors in the city, the one in Kucha and the one here in town. The ANC have failed to use the potential the city has to make sure that we create work for our people. There's a Democratic Alliance. We want to make sure that we eradicate and stop corruption. There's a lot of corruption in this city. We want to do that. We want to better service delivery in this city.
Yeah, better service delivery. All right, let's hear from you. Mr. Mongameli, what is the UDM's statement?
Well, we are also, as the UDM, pay our condolences to the family of the ward candidate of the ANC that has just passed away. Now, we are telling the people of the Metro that on the 3rd of August, they must all go in hundreds of thousands and vote for the United Democratic Movement. The UDM will definitely put their interest in the UDM are at our heart. We want to make sure that our people of the Metro are getting jobs, no more jobs for pals and friends. We want to make sure that our people of the Nelson Mandela Metro are benefiting into the economy of the city. We want to make sure that as the UDM, as they're going to vote for the UDM on the 3rd of August, we are telling them that corruption will be the end of the day on the 3rd of August. We are telling them that those roads that the ANC has failed to maintain, and those houses that the ANC has failed to build, and those buckets that the ANC has failed to eradicate, they will be eradicated under the UDM government. The only thing that we know about this mayor that he talks about, Danny Jordan must answer about the FIFA World Cup scandal. Where is the 100 million that he has used?
Let's get an opening statement. Let's get an opening statement from Danny.
Thank you very much, Siki. The economic freedom fighters is focusing on job creation in this election. We say that everything that is afflicting our communities is as a result of joblessness. Whether you are talking about drug abuse, whether you are talking about crime, whether you are talking about domestic violence, ultimately you can trace all those issues into joblessness of our people. So we focus on the creation of jobs and the eradication of corruption. One of the pivotal issues that we raised in this election in our manifesto, and we are the only party that talks about the abolition of the abhorrent tender system, because it is the tender system that has been abused. The tender system has been abused by the ANC for thieving, for corruption, for jobs, for pearls, and for so-called cadre deployment. This metro has got the dubious honor of being the capital in South Africa of the bucket system, which takes away the dignity of our people. There is no other place in this country that has more bucket systems than here. And I was saying in a meeting earlier, when I first came here in 1980, the buckets were being collected once a week, which was bad enough, but now they are collected once a fortnight. So we're moving backwards. And for the ANC to tell us about a plan is a disgrace. They should be telling us about a report card, because they've been running the place here.
I'm going to give my panelists a chance to rebut some of the issues that have been raised. It seems that jobs are quite central to the conversation here, and the way that the impact that has on citizens actually then reverberates around. I'm going to give each one of you a chance to rebut and to respond to that, and then we're going to take some questions from our panelists of experts. You're watching our special election debate on Nelson Mandela Bay. Stay with us. About the battle for Nelson Mandela Bay. We're going to give our panelists a chance to rebut some of these statements that have been made so far, and then we'll get some questions from our panel of experts. And Rory, I'm hearing jobs quite a lot, and I did mention obviously the automotive sector. I mentioned the ports, that the city is well known for the manufacturing capacity, and yet we sit with these high levels of unemployment. And one of the statements that economists have made is that the skills come in from outside. So we aren't skilling the people who live in this particular municipality. What have you done about that?
Siki, jobs are the thing that I think everyone realizes is the major issue in South Africa today. And the core of the document, 5 Golden Years, is about poverty and jobs. Those are the real issues. There's an enormous, extensive plan in that document. I'll just give you one little example about the fact that one assumes that if somebody has a job, they're all right, but it's simply not that either. Large numbers of people work in employment that gives them wages that they can hardly live with. So it's not just joblessness, it's also the quality of the work that they have. But I want to give you a simple example about joblessness and how it happens. The DA tells us they know exactly how to create jobs and that that we don't. I'd like to suggest that I have 2 T-shirts here. You recognize them? There are 2 differences between these T-shirts. This is an African National Congress T-shirt and this is a Democratic Alliance one. The second difference is that T-shirt is made in South Africa and this T-shirt's made in China.
Jobs in the textile sector.
The DA come from the Western Cape where they govern, they come from Cape Town where they govern, and that is the core of the garment and clothing industry in South Africa that has massive problems of foreign imports, and yet they buy their T-shirts from China, whereas the ANC buys them from Port Elizabeth. So I don't think we need to be taught too much about job creation by the Democratic Alliance.
So Ngaba, how are you going to create jobs? Because the statement here is basically that, well, you're not walking the talk.
In the Western Cape alone, the DA, out of 10 municipalities that were assessed, 9 municipalities that are run by the DA create jobs and are run better and there's good governance. And the Western Cape, in particular the Cape Town, is the best city that creates jobs. The Western Cape is the most attractive provinces for people to go and look for jobs because we create jobs. I
think it's the question, how? In what industries, in what sectors, how?
The first thing we are going to do is that to stop this corruption that is happening in the municipality of people and friends giving jobs to their friends and to their spouses and to their girlfriends. That's the first thing we are going to stop. And we are going to make sure that the vacancies that are available in the municipality since they took over, that we fill those vacancies. We are going to make sure that the students who are sitting here, who are graduates, who are not finding jobs, to put them in a graduate program for them to be placed. In Danny Jordan's government, since he took over, we have lost more than 20,000 jobs under their regime. The infrastructure of this city is going down. When there's poor governance and corruption in which they steal money, the money that's supposed to create jobs, it goes to their pockets and eat it and not going.
I need to go to my panel of experts. To get a couple of questions from them. I'm going to start, if I may, with Nwabisa Makunga, who is the Deputy Editor of the Herald. And Nwabisa, if you could please ask your question.
Hi, Siki, good evening. The question that I have, I see all the gentlemen on the stage have actually mentioned the issue of corruption, which is fantastic. In this municipality, several officials have been suspended, and they've been suspended for a number of months. The question I have is, how do you suggest dealing decisively and speedily with corruption when, for example, the people who are suspended are using the very labor laws that govern this country to actually escape facing the music?
Thank you very much. I'll take another question, and I'm going to ask Professor Jolene Steyn-Kotzer, who's with the university here, to ask her first question.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for the opening statements. And listening to this and just, thinking about where we are, in terms of the country's democracy, the 2016 local government elections, a theme that comes up very strongly for me is human dignity. And two parties touched upon the bucket system and also touched upon, housing. My concern is education. Education is a vehicle for social mobility. And if we look at some of the overcrowding in the schools, lack of resources in the schools, what is the plan to ensure an equality of outcome so that a child receiving an education in a Model C school is the exact same as anywhere else?
Thank you very much to Jolene. All right, I'm going to give each party a chance to respond, and very briefly, I'm going to start with you, Mongameli. If you could firstly deal with the corruption question from Nwabisa, firstly, and then if we can deal with the question of the quality of outcomes when it comes to education.
Yes, with regard to corruption, now let me first immediately come to this suspended official. Number one, in the UTM, as the UTM is going to take over on the 3rd of August. What is going to happen? The UTM will not suspend officials for a year and pay people for sitting at home for more than a year without expelling or finalizing the suspensions. And therefore, the UTM within 3 months, if the official is suspended, that official within 3 months, that particular matter must be finalized.
Still do it within the country's labor laws. Is that
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Labor law is clear. Within 3 months, we must be able to finalize any matter that is related to disciplinary matters. However, in the ANC government, there's no law. They are the law into themselves. There's no way that you can pay. There's no way that you can pay an official for sitting down at home for more than a year.
Please briefly touch on education, because I do need to move on.
Look, on education, education is the key priority for the UTM. We're not surprised as the UTM why education is not the key priority to the ANC. Because why? Our own president, we don't know where is he with regard to education. And therefore, the UTM will assist, we will assist our students locally to make sure that when our students are having the degrees, you can't sit at home with a degree. Right. The municipality is...
I need to move on. I need to move on. Your time is up. Dali?
I think, again, going to the issue of corruption. The issue of corruption, I think that's a very good question, because you have to balance the rights of the citizens at large and the rights of those who are found wanting. But the point of the matter is that, as they say, a fish rots from the head. If the president is corrupt and he's accused number one in the spy tapes case, and then on top of that, so you have a man who's a fugitive from the law. And then secondly, you have Tenicho Dan is also wanted by FIFA for stealing money. And then you get Tenicho Dan also employing corrupt officials. So you will never be able to resolve corruption until you remove the ANC.
Please move on to education. You have 1 minute.
On the issue of education, you see, that is the root of our problems is inequality. I mean, the DA and the ANC accuse each other. It's like the kettle calling the pot black. You know, between those two T-shirts that you were shown one, the blue one was accumulated from money stolen before 1994, and the yellow one was bought with money stolen since 1994. So they are both corrupt and they are proceeds of crime.
Time is up. Rory, a lot there that I'd like you to deal with, and I'm sure you'd like to address some of the issues that have been raised. Yes.
Firstly, around corruption. If you have an institution with 8,000 or 9,000 staff, you're going to have some of them that are not, in fact, perfectly operating. If I can just give you 2 examples from the latest Auditor General's report on the City of Cape Town. The City of Cape Town, in the last financial year, the Auditor General uncovered 207 cases of corruption, theft, and stealing of municipal property. And he also uncovered 407 million rands worth of tenders that had gone to officials and families of officials of people in government. Just read the Auditor General statement of the City of Cape Town. It's all there. It's not easy to have a big institution and not have some people who are doing things they shouldn't be doing. The other issue I'd like to talk about is suspended officials. Siki, we have a number of officials on suspension. My good friend there thinks there's an easy solution to this one. They come up for a hearing, and a week before the hearing, their lawyers provide a letter saying they want more documentation and more documentation. And then there's another hearing a month later. Then they are sick, and they are dragging it out because they paid a lot of money, and it's much better to keep the salary while they're working at home, and that's just fine for them.
Surely there must be a way to make this more efficient.
We are obviously driving the process incredibly fast, but I promise you, if you understand our labour law, it is possible to kick for touch in any number of ways. And it's right that it should be that the employee is protected.
Okay,
we came from many years when they weren't.
I'm going to ask you to pause there. I still want an answer on the education question, and I'll give you a chance to respond as well. And we're going to take some questions from the political party members who are represented here. We are back in a moment. Nelson Mandela Bay, getting some responses to the questions raised a bit earlier by our expert panel to our party members here. I'm going to give you a chance, Rory, just to finish up on the issue of education. It is obviously not a municipal function, but this is at the coalface of many of our people in South Africa.
Siki, without a doubt, it's after unemployment and poverty our biggest problem, and it's a cause of unemployment and poverty. The two are intimately related. Education is a provincial government competence and it's not a local government competence. It's not ours to do. But at the same time, there are 285 schools in our metro, and that's a lot of schools. It gives you a feeling for the massive size of this issue and the massive size of managing it and the massive cost of managing it. My belief is they are under-resourced in every respect. We need to improve the flow of funding into schooling and as quickly as possible, and we need to improve the buildings. The Mayor has undertaken to do every attempt in this year to coordinate our money and with private sector money and other money to improve the buildings of schools over the course of the next year, because that obviously is a cause that demoralizes teachers and students.
Ngaba, I need you to speak to the corruption question and education, please.
Siki, please, man, Rory must not lie to South Africans. Cape Town is one of the highest, not even by independent institution, by government institution who rate Cape Town in South Africa, not only in South Africa, but in the world, as the best run city in the world. The government of the ANC, the cabinet report qualifies that the performance of Cape Town in terms of delivering services, eradicating poverty, and creating jobs, it's the best. Therefore, the ANC must not come and lie to the people of South Africa.
So
In
you
Port
dispute-
Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela
Are you
municipality.
disputing the numbers that he shared with us a little bit earlier?
I dispute the numbers he's putting up. What we do in Cape Town, Siki, when we find corruption, we act on corruption. The problem with the ANC, even with their president, when they find corruption, they can't act on corruption. What we do when we govern, we act on corruption, we answer on corruption, we make those who have made corruption account. The
Education.
ANC people do not.
Education, please.
Oh, Siki, it's a problem again. It's an ANC problem. The education in the Eastern Cape, it's because of the alliance between the ANC and SADC. The people who have destroyed education in this city, in this province, is SADC, because the ANC is unable to act on SADC derailing and killing the education of our children.
I need to take some questions from the members of the political parties. I'm going to ask, please, if we could please listen to each other. I'm going to ask that you be very brief in your question and tell me who the question is directed at, please.
Thank you very much. My question is to the DA. When we look at Ethel Trollop, he has a very, very bad record when it comes to treating like black people. His farm workers complain he was the most worst person to treat them. Secondly, in the 1980s, he went and he joined the army in defense of like apartheid. What I want to know from Ngaba, how are you going to explain to the black people of this metro that the Trollop who was trained to kill black people, that this Trollop, he wants the vote of the black people? When the Trollop repent, when the Trollop say that he is sorry for going to the army, when the Trollop say he is sorry for maltreating and abusing the farm workers of Bedford, instead, what he did, he went to a press conference. He was heard on the Thursday, but he cried.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to be very long. My question is directed to the Democratic Alliance. Putngaba, you have spoken. Luckily, we're at a campus where most of us are going to be graduates. But the problem is that when we graduate out of this institution, we are going to be unemployed. Nationally, there's over 600,000 unemployed graduates. Nelson Mandela Bay alone is sitting at over 8.2% of unemployed graduates. Luckily, at the city of Cape Town, where the DA governs, it's a different story. So we want to know what is the DA plan, what is the DA planning to do in Nelson Mandela Bay for unemployed graduates?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next question.
I'm Nasibolela Josie, a BTech graduate from here at NMMU. Now, I listened to the ANC speaking about a 5-year plan when they, in their speech, they didn't even mention the issue of our healthcare system, which is failing dismally. 1, shortage of nurses. 2, not enough medication in our clinics. Now, in this strategic plan that you have, what measures do you have to improve our healthcare system? Because we are entitled to basic healthcare system, you know. It's based to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks again. My name is Siabulela Songwana, coming from the EFF. My question is directed straightly to the People's Advocate, Talibofu. My question is direct. Since we are led by this corrupt government of the eNCA and the municipality, I want to know what is the EFF's plan regarding the backlog of the housing, and what is their way forward of making sure, or which measures will be used to make sure the rightful owners get their houses back, and those houses that are already collapsing, what is EFF going to do with those ones? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, got some interesting questions there from our audience, because housing was something I wanted to come to. So I'm going to firstly honor who the questions were directed at first, and then I'll get a response from you as well, Rory, because these are key issues in this particular municipality. Dali, do you want to start on the EFF's plan for the housing backlog in the municipality?
Yes, the housing backlog here is very, very acute. You know, there is an area that we went to that is called Grogro, one of the informal settlements, one of the oldest informal settlements here. In that area, people don't have water, they don't have toilet, and they don't even have a light, you know, the so-called Apollo light to light their area. And then we went to Elalinebomvu. We met with the Somawonga family there. There are people staying in about 20 people in the same house. When it rains, it is wet. When it is hot, it gets too hot. And those people are still using the bucket system. Today we were in Helenville in the so-called colored areas. And you can see there are concrete houses. So you think this is a better area. When you go inside, we met there Mrs. Blom, who told us that there is no toilet, there is no electricity inside there. She lives in a so-called one-roomed house with so many people. In Motherwell, in Uitenhage, you have cracked houses. Well, you must first identify the problem.
I understand that, but we don't have the time for every example.
Quality houses, so that you don't have what you have in Ward 45 in Uitenhage, of houses that are sinking into. So you must build houses. You must have state capacity. Even the apartheid government had a housing company that was dedicated to building houses, and therefore you build capacity. State capacity, it goes back to the issue of the tender system, because you have the fly-by-night people who do construction, but they still want to make a profit from the people.
And Rory, he makes a very important point. Millions have been spent correcting houses that had been badly built. That is wasteful expenditure.
I know, without a doubt, mistakes were made and things were done very badly in some instances. But let's look at the fair side of it also. Since the end of apartheid, we have, in this metro, we have built 70,000 RDP houses and given them away to 70,000 families. Some of them have had to be repaired. And we have the most ambitious program ever for this coming year, with 600 million from Minister Sisulu to build 6,000 houses, which is the biggest number we'll ever build. But I'd just like to go back to my friend Mr. Banga here. Here is a report from Business Day on job creation in the Western Cape, where Ms. Patricia de Lille tallies up 14 billion rand in investment and 28,000 new jobs over a 5-year period from Westco. This metro has had 10 billion rands worth of investment this year, and the biggest investment is to be announced tomorrow. I won't show all that, but the biggest one in the history of the city. And the Kucha Development Corporation have created 62,000 jobs in their time. So the Western Cape is not alone in these successes.
In the job creation. I'm going to ask you firstly to deal with the question of Atrol Trollip, and then we're going to take a break. When we come back, then I'll ask you to deal with the question of unemployed graduates. Let's answer the question from the gentleman about Mr. Trollip.
Siki, we built a country in this country, led by then Nelson Mandela, that want to build a South Africa of all South Africans. The problem with the ANC have got to the highest level of desperation and try not only to taint Trolip, to taint all of us about things we have not done. Because we are about to run a city. Athol Trolip is a gentleman I work with. I work with him in building a better city. He's a Democrat. He's a person who cares about the people of the city. We go in each and every house in the city. People open doors because people want change. We trust him. He has credibility. He respects people. But some of these individuals, they can see that on the 3rd of August, a new government is going to be blue, and we are going to run that government, and Athol Trolip will be in the forefront. And we are not scared of that.
We'll deal with unemployed graduates, that question in a moment, and I'd like to hear your thinking around some of the issues that have been raised as well. Our debate continues after this break. Stay with us. Of the main parties that are contesting local government elections next week on August the 3rd are sharing some of their ideas with us today in conversation with the ANC's Rory Reardon, the DA's Mgabadeli, the UDM's Mongameli Gobani, and the EFF's Dali Mbofu. And we're just wrapping up some of the questions that were raised. And I want you to deal with the question about your plans for unemployed graduates. There was the question around unemployed graduates and your plan for that. Can you just quickly take us through that? And then I'll ask you to speak to the question around healthcare.
Siki, the issue of unemployed graduates in South Africa is the very sensitive and worrying factor. That our parents, our domestic workers go and struggle to build the future of their children. But at the end of the day, they get to graduate, but they cannot be placed in the municipality or anywhere. As the Democratic Alliance, what we want to do is that we are going to create a graduate program in the municipality to develop them and build officials that are fit for purpose. Because we can't have graduates living and going to Joburg and work. Whilst we have a city that we can build and place these students and also build the economy and build SMMEs here, where they are not only going to be business people, but also employ other people to create work for the people.
Mongameli?
We must agree here that the health system under the ANC government has collapsed. If you go to, where have you ever seen an old person go to a clinic 4 o'clock in the morning and wait there for Panados? A person goes to the clinic to chew for medicine, meaning therefore that the ANC doesn't care about the health of our citizens. And therefore, we are saying as the UTM, when the UTM takes over, we will make sure that the clinics that now belongs to the province of the ANC that is dead, those clinics' responsibility is the responsibility of the municipality. There's no way that if you go to the clinic or the hospital, you go to die. The UTM government must make sure that we are getting money somewhere so that we take care and health of our people.
All right, we're going to start wrapping up, and I want you to think now very, very carefully and very clearly about your closing statements to the citizens of Nelson Mandela Bay. I want to know from you as we close what your thinking is around jobs. Be very clear about what that is. Safety and security, something we haven't really touched on because gang violence and crime in the city has been a massive issue. It's one of the big talking points among citizens here. I'm going to give each of you about 2 minutes, and I'm going to be quite strict about that because we don't have a lot of time left. So I'm going to start with you.
Siki, thank you. We have heard tonight an enormously detailed series of complaints about how society and how things have gone wrong in some respects. We've been blamed in the ANC for health, which is not a local government competence, for education, which is not a local government competence, and all sorts of things. We have become a nation of complainers. I have not heard anything here that looks like a coherent program as to how to resolve the issues that we find ourselves in. I hear aspirational things about when we become government, we will do this. No plans. Only the ANC has a plan, and only the ANC... And one more sentence. And only the ANC has a mayor with the executive capacity to see it through. Thank you, Siki.
The Democratic Alliance, when we wake up on the 4th of August, it's going to be a government of this city. We are going to run this city by creating jobs and stopping corruption and delivering better services. The time for the ANC is over. It is over in this show. It is over in terms of governing this city. We are about to create a truly progressive city, a city where there will be opportunities, a city where there will be fairness, a city where there will be freedom. Thank you very much.
We, the United Democratic Movement, we are appealing to all the people of the Nelson Mandela Metro to come out in numbers on the 3rd of August and take the ANC out and vote the UTM in. For 22 years, the ANC has failed these residents. There's no jobs, corruption is very, very high. We are saying to them, don't lose hope, don't lose sight. 3rd August, come and vote ANC out and vote UTM in. You have done that in 130. You must now do it throughout the metro.
You know, one of the questioners mentioned the most important word, which is dignity. The EFF is all about the restoration of the dignity of our people. We unashamedly say that the resources must be channeled to the places where they were taken away by apartheid and successive colonialist regimes. The dignity of our people will be restored when we are sure that we give them quality services. We cannot have a municipality that will be led by a mayor who cannot even attend a mayor's conference if it is held in Zurich because he's running away from his own sins. Secondly, what we are saying is that the dignity of our people will only be restored if the government deliberately ensures that the bucket system is eradicated, that our people are proud to call themselves citizens, and that they are owners of the ports, the owners of all the things that you have said. And as right now, it's the same as if they were not owners of those things. And we want to say that the historical inequalities must be addressed. And for now, for the first time, black people must be proud and walk tall. Yeah.
We're almost out of time, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take one more comment or question from the eNCA resident, analyst, that's Angela Fake. Angela, if you could give us perhaps a statement that we can close off with.
Right. My question is really to all four people on that panel. And it has to do with what we've seen here tonight, and the fact that you can barely hear me is a reflection that many of us in the hall could barely hear Hugh, because in this country increasingly there is an intolerance among political party supporters to even listen to someone else's point of view. Part of local government's view, and actually the legislation requires this, is to undo some of the divisions of the past. My question is, what are parties going to do after August 3rd to make sure that those of us who live in communities can live with one another? And what are they doing to teach supporters to actually listen to opposing views and analyze them and make sense of them rather than just to boo and to jeer?
Fantastic points. We literally have a very, very little time, but what he's talking about is what are parties going to do to ensure that their members living in communities are able to be tolerant of opposing views, ability to listen, and actually deal with an issue and not necessarily the person. We're losing a lot of that very quickly.
Siki, I must be honest with you. I think that in the Nelson Mandela Metro, we are entirely tolerant. I mean, I go into the townships and I see neighbours people there, I see EFF people there. No posters get torn down as far as I can see. I mean, I think we have got a very acceptable level of tolerance.
It is, Siki, it is our collective responsibility as political parties to build a tolerant society. It is a shame in our country that some amongst us are pushing a wedge out to our people. We need to work together, tolerate that we can build one South Africa and one future for all.
Look, Siki, when the UTM win 130 in Fear Plus and Kwamagagi, when we take over from the ANC started to be intolerant. They never allowed the UTM to govern the ward properly because the UTM has got a mandate from the people. However, out of that, the UTM managed to run that ward perfectly. That's the reason why now everyone wants to be like 130. The ANC is going to be intolerant. The UTM is ready for it. We are going to run.
Final word. Final word.
No, as the EFF, I think also we must take this opportunity to pass the condolences to the ANC to the Julie family that have lost one of their own who was a campaigner here. But intolerance, what has introduced intolerance here is this policy of cadre deployment. Some of these people who are howling here are howling more because they think they are going to be deployed. You see, what happens is that we have lost two members. Two of our members were killed by hooligans of the ANC. But the worst thing is that 13 people have been killed in ANC intra-party violence. So if they can't even tolerate their own people, how are they going to tolerate others? So it's important for us to play a healing role as political parties and saying that the ANC must stop its deployment, which is the root of corruption. And
thank you very much to my panelists, to our audience here, and of course to you. It's going to be very interesting to watch what happens on August 3rd. I'm going to hand you back to the studios in Hyde Park, to Iman and Jeremy. Good night.